Welcome to the Flex Rental Solutions demo video. In this demo, you will learn how to use the basic functions of the Flex Rental Solutions software. Keep in mind that we will only be going over a small portion of what Flex can do. To learn more about the extensive features and customization options that Flex offers, we recommend checking out our starter kit and user manual, along with our large YouTube video library. Flex is web-based, which means that you can access your Flex system from anywhere with an internet connection and a web browser. Flex evolved from real-world experience. It is designed, developed, and supported by people with over 75 years of pro AV experience. We understand both technology and your business, enabling us to speak your language. Flex is under active development, and updates are pushed automatically to your system at no charge. If you are not currently a Flex customer, please try our demo, which can be accessed from our website, flexrentalsolutions.com. Enter your name and email address, then click Access the Demo Now. You can find other useful information about Flex on the website as well. If you are already a Flex customer, then you should have been given a unique Flex address for your company. Enter that address into the browser bar of your web browser. If this is your first time logging in, enter your username and the temporary password that you were given. You will be prompted to confirm the temporary password, then enter and verify a new password. This will give you access to your Flex system. First, let's look at the layout of Flex. Flex is divided into three major sections: the Resource Browser, the Workbench, and the Workbench menu. The Resource Browser is located on the left, and it is separated into 5 sections. First is the Contacts section, where all of your contacts are organized into folders. Next is Facilities, which will show all of the business locations that are associated with your Flex subscription. The Inventory section contains the inventory tree, which organizes your inventory into folders and subfolders. The Recent Items section shows the 25 most recently viewed items. This can be quotes, inventory items, contacts, and more. And finally, the Services section contains non-inventory items that you might want to charge for on a quote. The Resource Browser also contains a search function. You can search your entire system or narrow your search by selecting an option from the drop-down menu. The search function includes options to show deleted or closed items. The next major section is the Workbench, which is located in the center. When you log into Flex, your calendar will open in the Workbench. You can change the view options for the calendar and look back at previous items or forward to future items. You can open any item on your calendar by double-clicking on the item, and it will open as a new tab in the Workbench. Click the small circle on the tab to close it. The last major section in Flex is the Workbench menu, which will show options for whatever is currently open in the Workbench. Since the calendar is open in the Workbench menu shows options for the calendar. You can choose which calendar to view, which element types appear on the calendar, which status types appear on the calendar, and locations. There are also options to sync your calendar with Google or Facebook. You can edit the calendar options, including calendar name, view options, and column options. Along the top of the screen are the Flex menu options. There are many settings and configuration options that you can choose from. Many of these options can be visible or invisible to a user depending on their security group setting. Next to the menu options is a manual barcode input box. You can use this box if you don't have a barcode scanner. In the upper right corner, there is a location selector if you have multiple locations, and a new element menu to quickly create a new element within Flex. Let's take a minute to look at how contacts work within Flex. We can resize the resource browser to a comfortable width as we work in it. You can view a contact entry page by finding the contact name within the contact folders, then double-clicking on the name. On the Contact Info tab, you can find the general information about this contact, including name, address, phone numbers, etc. You can also add personal details to this contact, like a birthday or favorite restaurant. There is also a useful Relationships widget, where you can assign relationships to the contact. For example, we can see all of the employees of this contact. You can add as many relationships as you want. On the Terms and Notes tab, you can add security details if this contact is a Flex user, and default trading terms that will be applied every time this contact is used on a quote. If you use this contact when scheduling labor, then you can assign skills and qualifications to help keep track of what the contact is capable of. You can also add default bill rates to the contact. Other tabs include a correspondence log, documents, image gallery, utilization if you use this contact in crew scheduling, job notes, payment history, and tabs for each element type that this contact has been associated with. You can also have a contact entry for companies and for venues. Using the Relationships widget in a venue contact entry is especially useful. Venue contacts can also be configured to have a Facility tab, which contains detailed information about the venue. There are several ways to create a new contact. You can right-click on a contact folder and click New Contact. You can click New Contact in the Workbench menu when you have a contact entry open in the Workbench. Or you can go to the Contacts menu and click New Contact. You can easily rearrange the folders in the Contacts section by clicking and dragging the folder on top of another folder. The prompt will ask if you want to move the folder inside, above, or below. You can add as many Flex system users as you need to, each with a unique username and password. Each user can be assigned a security policy, and they will inherit security permissions based on the group that they are assigned to. If you click on the Permissions button next to a username, you can see the permissions that they have inherited from the group that they belong to. You can modify permissions for each security group or you can modify permissions for each individual user. Flex also includes a useful access history page where you can see who has accessed your Flex system. Your Flex inventory is organized into what we call the inventory tree. The inventory tree is organized by folder and subfolder. You can move items within folders by dragging and dropping. You can also move folders and subfolders using the same method. Right-clicking on any folder will give you several options. Click on Inventory Group Manager to add a new child group within the group you clicked on. Edit the inventory group, delete the inventory group, or create a new parent inventory group. You can edit child groups and add more levels of child groups using this method. If you click on New Inventory Item from this menu, the primary group will autofill based on the folder that you right-clicked on. Right-clicking on an inventory item will give you options to open the item, edit or delete the item, view pricing and schedule information, and more. You can also open the inventory item by double-clicking on the item name. If we click Edit Inventory Item in the Workbench menu, you can see all the different options that can be included when you add inventory to your system. Of particular note is the Structure and Availability section. This is a unique feature in Flex that allows you to create a variety of inventory items, like serialized models, models with accessories, storage containers, packages, non-serialized models, and virtual items. Let's briefly look at a couple of these types of items and see how they work within Flex. This item is set up as a serialized model. This means that this item can have multiple serialized units, each with their own barcode. A non-serialized model might be something like this XLR cable. Non-serialized models are not tracked by serial number or individual barcodes. The quantity can be changed manually. This lighting console is a good example of a serialized model with accessories. With the model container set to Yes, a new Contents tab will appear on the model page. Any item that you put in the Contents tab will automatically be added when you place the lighting console into a quote. This amp rack is a good example of a serialized package. Instead of model container set to Yes, a serialized package has unit container set to Yes. This means that each serialized unit can contain items within it. The contents are not available because they are part of a permanent package. So if we look at a serialized amp rack unit, you can see that we have scanned individual amplifiers into the rack. As an example of serialized storage, let's first look at the Vari-Lite VL3000 item. These lights are transported in a particular case, which we have added into the inventory as VL3K case. The VL3K case is set up as serialized storage, which means that each serialized unit can have items placed into it, but the contents are available and not permanent like in the amp rack package. The storage container is rebuilt with contents before each job. All of these structure and availability options, including free pick containers and virtual items, are explained in greater detail in our starter kit and user manual. The inventory item information screen tells you a lot of information and has several useful tools to help keep your inventory organized. The Quantity tab will show you how many of this item you have in your system, separated by location and resource type. The Serial Numbers tab will show each of the serial units if the model is serialized. You can easily add new serial units here as well. The Suggestions tab can be filled with items that will be suggested as you place this item in a quote. You will see how this works when we build a quote later in the demo. The Alternatives and Substitutions tabs can contain items that can replace this item if there are any shortages. The Suppliers tab can contain the contact and pricing info if you need to purchase or subrent this item. The Pricing tab is where you will input the price that you will charge for this item, with several different pricing models available. The Scan Log tab will show you each time that this item has been scanned, including the job and who the scan was performed by. The Documents tab can contain any document that you want to attach to the item, like an owner's manual. And the Integration tab is where you can enter Production Exchange information if you list the item on Production Exchange. Services are non-inventory items that you want to charge for on a quote. For example, you can add a variety of labor types into the labor folder and set up default pricing for each. You can also set up subfolders within the labor folder for labor types in different cities. This is helpful if you are booking labor for jobs in a different city and want to charge a different price. You can also include services that you might not want to include a default price for, like travel expenses. You can manually enter the price for this service type after you place it on a quote. You can create a new quote in Flex by clicking on the New menu in the upper right corner, then clicking New Quote. The Edit Quote window will appear. The account manager name is automatically filled with the current user's name. Choose a ship date and time and a return date and time. You can also choose a department, a default time, a default pricing model, a referral source, and which warehouse the inventory will come from. To fill in the client and venue fields, you can either start typing a name and choose from one of the suggestions, or click on the binoculars icon and find the contact or venue there. In the interest of time, let's create this quote as is without filling in the rest of the fields. The top area of the quote screen is called the header. You can minimize the header to maximize your workspace. The fields in the header section can be edited by clicking in them. Or you can click Edit Header. To add items to the quote, drag and drop them from the inventory tree. Enter a quantity, then accept. If you add an item with suggestions, you will see the Suggestions window appear. Choose the suggestions you want to add, then click Accept. Each line item has a box indicating the quantity available. Let's see what happens when we add an item with a quantity that cannot be fulfilled. The box has turned red, and you can see how many items you are short. If you click on the cogwheel next to the availability box, you will see several different options for this line item. For now, let's click on Conflicts to launch the conflict resolution window. You can either transfer, substitute, subrent, or purchase the item to resolve the conflict. This time, let's subrent from this vendor that we put in the Suppliers tab of the inventory item. If you double-click on the subrental vendor name, a rental PO will automatically be created with all the necessary information. From here, you can send the rental PO to the vendor and submit it for approval. You may have noticed that each item we have added so far has been added into the auto subtotal. This is because we are currently in auto sort mode. When in auto sort mode, items will be added into a subtotal based on where they are organized in the inventory tree. No matter where you drop the item on the quote, it will automatically sort based on the order of the inventory tree. If we go to Insert Sort mode, you can drag and drop items wherever you want, whether it be in an existing subtotal or outside of a subtotal. If we go to Add mode, any item added to the quote will automatically be added to the bottom of the list. There are many options in the Workbench menu to make creating a quote easier. You can copy and paste selected lines, bulk delete and bulk edit selected lines, and you can create a new subtotal. In this example, we will select the two bottom lines, then click Create Subtotal. You can see that the two selected line items are now included in the subtotal. You can now go to Insert mode and add more items into the subtotal. You can copy the entire quote into a new quote, and move the quote into a parent folder. For example, you could move this quote into a parent event folder. After you have completed the quote, you can easily send it to the client. An email template will be created with the client's email address. You can also generate a PDF copy of this quote to print. There are a variety of reports that you can enable in your system and print from this area. After the client has responded and confirmed the quote, you can confirm it in your Flex system. Under Workflow Options, click Confirm Quote. An email template will be generated to notify your choice of Flex users, and you can customize who it is sent to. You can see that there are new workflow options now, including the ability to create a pull sheet for this quote. Even though the quote is confirmed, you can still add or remove items from the quote. Let's place a stagehand labor service offering into this quote. Since we are currently in insert sort mode, we can drop it wherever we want. Now let's switch to auto sort mode and add an audio engineer. You can see that it is sorted into a labor subtotal. You can see that both of these labor service offerings have automatically generated call times, and there's a -1 conflict. If we click on the cogwheel, then open the Staffing Assistant, we can choose a contact to fulfill this role. After a contact is chosen, the conflict goes away, and a crew list is automatically generated as a child element to the quote. After you have made changes to the quote, you can send it to the client again. Once the quote is confirmed and approved, you can go to the workflow options and create a pull sheet. An email template will be sent to your choice of Flex users. Then the pull sheet will be created. The warehouse employees can now begin prepping the job. Let's go back to the quote and look at some view options that are available. With a pull sheet created, you can see that availability has been locked on the quote, but we can still make changes to how things are viewed on the quote. On the right side of each line item column, you will see several checkboxes. Each of these boxes determines how this line item will be viewed on the PDF copy of the quote. The first checkbox is to note mute the notes on this line. This means that if there is a note on this line item and the note mute box is checked, the note will not appear on the PDF copy. This is useful when there are notes on the quote that you only want to be seen internally. The second checkbox is to price mute the item. This means that the price of the item will not be visible on the PDF copy, but the price will still be included in the total price. The third box is to line mute the item. This means that the entire line will not be visible on the PDF copy. The last box is to total mute the item price. This means that the price of the item will not be included in the total price, but the price will still be visible for reference. Now that we've checked a few of these boxes, let's see how it looks on the PDF copy. You can see that the note muted line is not showing the notes. The price muted items are not showing the price, but are still being included in the total. The line muted item is not showing at all. And the total muted items are still showing the price, but are not being included in the total price. There are also a few quote views that will be useful to you internally, like Logistics View, Profit Margin View, Change View, and Warehouse View. Flex allows you to create multiple custom quote views. When you are on any particular view tab, you can generate a PDF and get a copy of that view in the PDF. The last thing we will demonstrate is how to scan gear out of your Flex system in preparation for shipping. In the Workbench menu of the pull sheet, click on Go to Prep Screen. This will take you to the prep screen where you can scan equipment out of the warehouse. Like most screens in Flex, you can adjust the width of the areas. There are several ways to scan gear out on the prep screen. The first is to scan a serialized barcode that is found on a piece of equipment. Flex will automatically detect a barcode scan without having to place the cursor in the barcode input box. If you scan a serialized barcode, the quantity will automatically update and you can see a check mark next to the item when the entire quantity is fulfilled. The warning box next to the video subtotal is just telling us that there are other items within that subtotal that have not yet been scanned out. The barcode lens is a non-serialized item, so let's scan a non-serialized barcode and the quantity prompt will appear asking us how many we want to scan out. Another method for scanning equipment out is by virtual scan. You can perform a virtual scan by double-clicking on any item. If the item is serialized, you will be prompted to choose a specific barcode to virtually scan. The XLR cable is non-serialized. The Yamaha LS9 is serialized, so we will scan each serialized barcode found on each LS9 that we are sending to this job. Remember, we were short one LS9 and needed to subrent. The subrental indicator is found on the right. You can easily receive a subrental by going to the warehouse menu and clicking on Receiving, then clicking on the rental PO from the list. You will be brought to the receiving screen where you can double-click on the item from the list. You will be temporarily adding this item to your inventory for the duration of the rental. You can print a temporary barcode if you want, then click Finalize. Now if we go back to the pull sheet prep screen and perform a virtual scan on the LS9, we can see the new sub-rental barcode. Let's scan the last item in the audio subtotal to show audio as complete. For the lighting items, remember from earlier in the demo that we set up the VL3K case as a serialized storage item. That means that we can scan barcodes into the case. So if two lights are in each case, then we can scan only the barcode on the case, and the contents of the case will also be scanned. So we'll scan case number 1, then case number 2. The 2 cases and all 4 lights are scanned out. Let's scan the rest of the items on this pull sheet. The Yamaha M7 is set up as a free pick container, which means that you can open the case during the scan process and add additional inventory into the case. We will not open the free pick container at this time. Once the items are scanned out and the progress bar shows 100%, the Finalize prompt will appear. Click Finalize, and the equipment is now ready to be shipped out of the warehouse. In this demo, you have seen some of the basic features that Flex offers. There are many other basic and advanced features that you will discover as you use Flex and take advantage of our support resources. Some of these features include advanced crew scheduling and staff availability tools, integration with QuickBooks, and other powerful financial tools, an inventory manager, and extensive inventory settings, an ROI dashboard, and the ability to perform full inventory counts. Calendar and template customization, and the ability to completely customize the look and feel of each element in your system. You can also customize workflow elements and workflow jobs allowing Flex to automate many important processes. You'll also have the ability to view and print a variety of reports, including the option to create custom reports. There are dozens of system settings, so you can make your Flex system operate the way that your company operates. And there are several powerful warehouse tools that will allow you to ship and receive gear with ease. Please take advantage of our many help resources, including a user forum, a user manual, and an extensive YouTube library. As always, if you have any questions or need technical support, please email support@flexrentalsolutions.com.